My old school days. Do things ever change? My old school days. Do things ever change? All rights reserved by Zelda and Associates at 2025.
When asked if I know any famous people, I always refer to Central High School, which I attended with Prince. Although he was older, he said the occasional hi when we were in the hallway. When I take my trip down memory lane, I also recall another interesting event from school I clearly remember to this day. When I attended school, I was short and curvy, not fitting the Eurocentric beauty standards many seem to adore during that time period. I missed all the markers. I was short, very voluptuous, hips and all. I had my own BBL before people cosmetically added them. To top it off, I had full lips, which were not exactly in style either. When you are young, you look at yourself and always find a reason to be a bit self-conscious. I was no different, which was another reason for my quiet demeanor. On the bright side, I was a fairly bright young lady, although quite nerdy and very quiet. As I walked the log castle-like brown hallways with sporadic white and beige tile and the similar-looking staircases, I thought about my upcoming classes. The huge staircases formed large decorative shiny brown banisters that were so wide, both hands would barely enable you to grab hold. On the other hand, my brother, Anthony, was absolutely one of the popular kids. He was slender yet muscular, average height with smooth caramel skin and sparkling eyes. He was popular with the girls, always sporting his white furry apple hat and white leather coat. He had a phenomenal way with the ladies. In those days, the popular boys wore furry apple hats, as Minneapolis was and still is quite cold during the winter months. He wore the latest fashion and finished his look with the white apple hat and white leather coat. The girls flocked to him as a bee to honey. The school week had begun, and I walked the long stretch of hallway to my class. The hall appeared as though you could briskly run the 50-yard dash and have room to spare. Moving from one class to another heading for the massive staircase, I overheard a discussion. A group of girls were boasting how they planned to get this guy. They were definitely interested in a boyfriend situation. I just listened as they continued their conversation. My mind drifted to thoughts of class when I heard one say, "That white hat and white leather coat." Oh. I paused and instantly knew who they were speaking about. These were the rough girls. They had scars on their face and arms from fighting and close-cropped hair. I noticed they wore 2 pairs of knee-high socks, different colors, which symbolized some type of gang affiliation. They continued talking as though I was invisible, and I suppose to some students I was. I headed up the steps to class, excited to do a minor experiment in biology. In the midst of my experiment, I saw Anthony through the wall of windows which surrounded my biology classroom. He mouthed and pointed for me to meet him at my locker after school. At the locker, he asked me to tell our parents that he would be going to Phelps Field and he would be home later. I said okay, and at the corner of my eye, I noticed one of the rough girls who had been discussing Anthony earlier glanced at me. I continued to stack some of my books on the top shelf of the gray metal locker, retrieved my coat dark red woolen coat, and wrapped my woolen scarf around my neck. I locked my locker and headed home.
We hope you have enjoyed the story thus far. You may view the remainder of the story absolutely free at https://www.byblasterasfortodayyouth.com. Please consider purchasing a subscription, which is available on the website. We will be providing additional stories throughout the year.